us how much carriers are present in the bulk of the semiconductor at a particular point. So you can think of two boxes and those which are displaced by a small distance delta x. So this is the length of the semiconductor for where we are going to find out the accumulation. Okay, so these holes are going through it. So one side, that current due to the hole will enter, so obviously there is a direction for that, and the area of that cross section area is A. So the total volume of the box we are talking is A delta x, and then when it leaves we are going to find it at x plus delta x. So that is what the volume we are talking of. So if there is an accumulation in that particular region, then obviously there will be increase in the hole concentration per unit time, and that is the difference what we have to give. So in a sense, how much holes are accumulated over there. But as this x plus delta x, I mean this particular region I am talking of, so that also is a semiconductor, right? And when we are having some light or some what you say, thermal agitation or whatever the reason, there can be some generation in that area as well when we are considering. And obviously, as this is a material, there could be a recombination rate. So out of this accumulation, we have to subtract the recombination rate or recombination recombined carriers, and we have to add the generated carriers. So if we try to apply this, then obviously we can write down this particular expression at any particular time. So you can see that the two terms coming because of the generation and recombination are like this. So you are adding generation, you are subtracting the what you say, recombination rate. And when you resolve this, then you can see that we get some differentials, and this particular part, as we have already seen in the previous one, that we can substitute the diffusion equations over here. So you can see the diffusion equation, diffusion coefficient coming into the picture, and it becomes now the second order differential equations. So that's all. This is the continuity equation. By the way, whatever equations I'm giving in this particular what you say chapter will be used later, and we will apply it for the PN junction, right? So right now we are just stopping at where we are deriving the equations. Now, in last lecture, we have already talked about the diffusion current. Now let us talk about the drift one. So this is due to the presence of electric field, or in another sense, the electric field is going to direct the motion of the carriers in the semiconductor. So you can see here visually, when there is no presence of this electric field, you can see the motion is random, and it ultimately comes to, you know, the net displacement is zero. But as soon as you apply electric field, and obviously it will have some direction which is given by the arrow, you can see that now the net movement is from place A to place B. So diffusion is kind of a natural phenomena, and after a while it will come to halt. But electric field is something what you can say induced or artificial phenomena. So you can see that this drift will be absent till we don't have any electric field. So whenever we make any device, or in other sense, whenever we make any junction, definitely diffusion will take place, and after a point it will settle down. There will not be any movement after certain times. So if you want that movement after a certain time as well, we need to provide electric field, or we need to generate one electric field, and that is what the crucial part when we talk about the junction. So this point will be very vital when we talk about the you know, how solar cell works, and the currents because of both diffusion as well as drift. Okay, now this obviously occurs in semiconductors. And the point is the electrons will be moving net direction opposite to the electric field, and because of the what you say, difference in the polarity, hole will be moving in the direction of the field. So accordingly you can mark the currents. Okay, so the net current will be in the same as that of electric field which is applied. Movement would be opposite. Okay, now for this drift we have to think of the two parameters, two constants rather. One is mobility and other thing is the drift velocity. So as I've said, whenever there is a movement of carriers, there will be always these collisions of atoms. And what happens is after a certain time, when there are so many collisions, it will reach to a drift velocity for a particular electric field. Okay, so and other thing is the mobility. Now you can see these impediments as resistance. So whenever one tries to move the presence of some other atoms in the solid, it is going to create problems. Or otherwise, if you have to visualize it, you think that you want to move fast in a crowded station or something. Obviously, every person who is moving with his own velocity and uh, it is going to create the problem. So you have to ask them to move away and make a way for you. So same thing over here. So but if there is no crowd and you have to run, there is absolutely no resistance, so your mobility would be much higher in this particular case. So this mobility and drift velocity is related, and obviously it is coming because of the electric field that what we are applying. So mobility is inversely proportional to the field, and it is proportional to the velocity. Rather, we will remember this formula: V is equal to mu into E. So obviously, who will impede this mobility? Most probably, it is the impurity, the atoms which are abnormal for any semiconductor we are considering. And then obviously temperature, how higher temperatures will be lower mobility, because when your material is in high temperature zones, the other what you say other carriers are also there, they are also trying to move. So in a simple sense, the temperature is going to increase the population, and more the population, obviously the impediment will be more in this case. Okay. Now, let us talk about the drift equation and everything which is connected over here. The usual meanings you can see: N, P, then mobilities, and what you say electric fields and electron charge. So now let us say we are applying some electric field in the direction x, so that's why we are calling it as Ex. Then it will have some momentum. These atoms will have some momentums. So, and obviously they will experience some force, and that is what is driving the electrons. So you can see that the electron movement will be opposite to that of the direction, and there will be some net acceleration, and there will be so whenever this acceleration, obviously a steady state current flow is going to balance, and obviously when they are moving, it is going to opposed by the collision processes, so that balance is achieved between the flow of electrons or the acceleration and the collision process. Okay. So whatever this electric field is generating the momentum, now we can say that there are a number of electrons that can undergo this change. Okay. Now let us say every electron is moving, and at particular point of t, let us say that there are n number of electrons which have not undergone any of the collision, so they are due. The collision is due. So obviously you can talk of this decrease in the unscattered electrons, because after now from this reference these will start colliding, okay, which are due. So you can apply an exponential law, and you can say that n0 was the number at the beginning, and then you can have n of t which is present at a particular time. So this other t, this t is the average time that what we are talking about between the scattering events. So I have already defined scattering in the previous class. So then you can define the acceleration over here. You substitute these values, and where n is the electron concentration, and you can find out the probability that there will be a collision in a particular average time for this. Then this is the average momentum that you have obtained. You can take the you have obtained the individual momentum. You can take the average of that, because you know that there is a number of electrons, and then the net speed, if you divide that momentum by mass, you get the net velocity. And this P you can substitute in terms of this QTEX, which is in terms of this electric field, and we know that the current density will be proportional to now number of electrons which is passing through the area, whatever area we are considering per unit time. So this will be Q into N into V. V we have just obtained, you can substitute, and then you can see that this particular terms N, Q, T and M, these are all constants at a particular time. So you can replace this by something called as conductivity. So now your expression is basically J is equal to sigma into E, and this is what the Ohm's law is. Okay, and this sigma you can of course substitute in terms of mobility. So Q will sigma will be equal to Q and mu N. So sigma is the conductivity and mu is the mobility of the carrier. So you can see that if the mobility of the carrier is higher, the current will be obviously higher. Also, if the electric field applied is higher, the current density would be higher. So now this what we have derived is for electrons. Similarly, you can derive it for the holes as well, and then you can combine both and you get the total current in x direction for both hole and electrons. So these are the functions, and again you can see that mobility is what you say material property, but however it is influenced by the temperature, and mobility, as I have said, when the temperature increases, more carriers will be available and the resistance in a sense will increase. And you can see that the mobility is going down for both holes as well as electrons. And you can also see that when the doping is higher, the mobility is what you say decreasing. So again, you wish to obtain why? Because mobility means doping. Higher doping means you have got more number of free electrons or free valence electrons, right? So obviously this is down. So again, you have to have moderate amount of doping. We take it as roughly 10 to 16 or whatever. Now, as I said, this is the Ohm's law that you have. Then you can substitute and you can, basic definitions you can substitute like this for resistivity and the current density. You know that electric field is defined as the gradient of the voltage, and you can derive the Ohm's law from this. Okay, so this is the general expression of Ohm's law, what we learned in the first year basic electrical, but this is the actual form of this one is the actual form of Ohm's law. Anyway, so conductivity and resistivity are obviously the function of the majority carriers which we have. Now, so we have seen both the currents, current due to diffusion and current due to the drift. Okay, and for every case there are two components, one which is because of the hole and one because of the electron. So whenever we talk about the net or total current density, we should consider all of these four components: drift because of and because of the diffusion. So this is the total equation present, and we can apply at any point of time so that we can find out the current density in the semiconductor. Then there is Einstein relation. So we have already seen two constant. One is diffusivity and the mobility, and you can see that the ratio is constant, and that is given by kT by Q. So if you are talking of a particular temperature, then this K and Q are already constant. So D by mu ratio remains constant, and even at any temperature, if you elevate this, still this D by mu ratio will remain constant. The derivation of this Einstein relation we will see when we see certain equations. We require certain equations to derive this. We haven't seen them yet. So anyway, D by mu remains constant for you for a particular temperature. So these are typical values you can check, and now you can understand. See why gallium arsenide is better than silicon. Obviously, mu is higher, and D is also considerably higher for this material. So gallium arsenide is much better for solar cells. However, you know the problems. The cost of gallium arsenide itself is quite high as compared to the silicon. So you have to remember these values at least for silicon. So at least you should round about these values you should be using. So better to remember these values. I will not be giving these values at any point of time as a data. And apart from that, some values you should remember. Some of them we have already seen. The atomic density should be known. Atomic weight 14 into 2, so you can take it as just 28. The density is 2.32. Energy band gap you can use 1.12 or 1.11. That's not a problem. Lattice constant 0.55 nanometer or 5.5 angstroms. You can check, and rest of the things you may not need at this point. But these are 3-4 quantities that you should be remembering whenever we solve the problems for the silicon. If it is not silicon, obviously I'll be giving you those values. Okay. So that's all. That is all what we have for this particular the chapter. So I'll be posting these notes immediately after this lecture, and please revise these equations and the concepts and everything, because next chapter will be obviously we have to derive the equation for PN junction diode, and we'll be also learning the functioning of the solar cell. Okay, so at that time all these concepts of drift, diffusion, mobility, the generation, recombination, and absorption. So all these concepts. That's why I gave the name of this chapter as semiconductor basics. So these concepts will be applying to a PN junction diode or for solar cell in the next chapter. So make sure that you go all through this, and that is why I conducted the test. And there may be a test next in the next lecture as well. Okay. So that's all for this particular lecture. Any information regarding the what you call mid-same or something? Any information?
No, sir.
Hello?
No, sir.
No information,
No, sir.
right? But I think there was one mail today, and of course that mail was anticipated by me, that we have to conduct not many quizzes or something. I'm not in good mood to give the assignments. I don't believe in them, and especially when you are at home, the copying is very easy. So I don't normally give assignments. So obviously I'll be conducting test, and I think I had made myself very clear, right? So these make sure that you attend this test. And obviously this test will be a surprise test. There is no alternative to that for me. So make sure that you attend this test and make sure you get some good marks. Most of you are doing good. Most of you are getting some 70-80% marks. And I think that is today's mail at least tells that not only TA marks, if the mid-sem is not conducted, those tests will be considered for your midterm evaluation. So these things are very serious. Okay. So make sure that your login is correct. You are not working on mobile. You have some laptop, and whatever arrangements you have to do, you should be doing it. Okay. And this will be surprise. There is no alternative for that. Whatever your technical problems, you have to handle it with Microsoft and you. And that's why I took, in the beginning itself, I conducted few tests so that these technicalities at least should be avoided. And I think from my side, everything is perfect. So if there is any problem, it is from your side now. Okay. So that's all. From Wednesday, we will start for the next, next lecture. If there is any information regarding midsem or something, because why I'm asking you is that the information goes from academics directly to the student, not to faculty advisor, not to faculty or nobody else. Okay. So apart from these teachers and faculty advisors, everybody knows. And that is what our great communication works. Okay. So that's why whenever you get information, be kind enough to tell it to me that we have received some telegram or something like that, because I think that has the new convention mode of communication, it seems, which avoids teachers. Anyway, so please do that. That's all. Okay. So thank you very much. I'm ending the call here. Yeah, thank you. Bye.